In today's video, I'm going to show you how we redid our laundry room by placing a butcher block countertop on top of the washer and dryer, as well as making a shelf that covers the washer and dryer hookups. Before I get into the video, please do me a favor and subscribe, share, like this video, hit the notification bell so you're notified of any new videos that I make.
All the tools that I use for the project. I have my drill over here that I put a bit in to drill pilot holes. I have an impact drill. Both of those are running the 18-volt battery. Got my level, got my sander, tape measure, rubbing alcohol in that bottle, and I got the wood glue right there, Scott's Halls, and rubbing alcohol. For this project, I went with the Varathane Jocko Bean wood stain and the Minwax oil-based polyurethane. The first thing I did was measure from this wall to this wall. That turned out to be 70 inches. The butcher block countertop is 70 inches, so I cut that down to size. Now, to place the butcher block countertop on top of the washer and dryer, it's not technically on top of it, but it's very close. I wanted a little gap in case I needed to move it out for maintenance. Had a long piece of wood right here that goes all the way back to the wall, as you can see. That actually worked out perfectly. I made sure it was level, and I just identified the studs in the wall using my stud finder and the old pound technique to make sure I was getting the actual stud. So I did that on both sides. I actually didn't put it in the middle. I thought I was gonna need it, but this piece of butcher block is pretty strong, so I didn't have to worry about that. And you can see over there, there's the other piece. So that is literally just resting on top of those two ledges on each side of the wall. And it's super tight fit. It's a very tight fit to get that butcher block in there. What I really wanted to pay attention to was having this basically line up as much as I can flush with that for the washer and the dryer. There is a very small gap right here, maybe a ½ inch or so. That was acceptable to me. I couldn't find a butcher block countertop that was wide enough all the way to my wall. So that's why these 2x4s on top, which are gonna serve as a shelf, and I'm just gonna hide that washer and dryer hookup. Okay, so one important step I just wanted to review is this 1x4 is 3.5 inches tall. That's how high I put the 2x4 on each side of the wall. So that meets almost completely flush on that piece on the wall and this piece of board. This is only 1 inch right here, and this is going 6 inches across from the wall, which is great. So we have a little bit of room if we need to put stuff up there. So it's an even line and it's flush. And then when you're ready, this piece of wood is just gonna go over top that 2x4 and you're gonna be good to go. So the 1x4 and the 1x6, the first thing you wanna do is just use a little bit of sandpaper. I just use whatever I have. So I had 60 grit, just used a flat sander and just sanded it down. I'm not trying to kill it, I'm just trying to break down whatever's on top. Okay, after sanding and cleaning up the sand with some rubbing alcohol or mineral spirits, the next thing I would highly recommend doing is buying some wood conditioner like this. I just bought Varathane, it was what they had at the local box store. This is a really important part because what you're trying to do is apply this liquid on top of the wood and let it condition the wood. So what that's gonna do is actually make the colors in the wood evenly distribute more. If you don't do that, you'll find that parts of the wood will be darker than others. It won't be as uniform and even. That's why I use a wood conditioner. One of the most important things I've learned about this stuff though is make sure you take time. Open it up, take a little wood stir, a little paint stir, stir it around slowly. Make sure you get the stuff, anything on the bottom, but just take your time and mix it for like at least a minute or two. You just wanna make sure that you've stirred it up and everything is mixed properly. Another thing with the wood conditioner, just make sure when you apply it that you wipe off any excess. You don't want a bunch of that stuff just sitting on top of the surface. You just want it to penetrate in the wood and then wipe off the excess. So the wood conditioning is done. Now it's time to put the two pieces of wood together. I actually use wood glue and just put it across the seam of each of these pieces of wood. I didn't want to use a power drill and screws because there's a 1 inch surface area that I'm screwing down into, and that was gonna probably split the wood, and I really didn't want to risk that. It's a pain in the butt. I just met the boards together. I had some clamps in my shop, in my garage shop, and just held those together for at least an hour.
after an hour, it was pretty strong bond already. I think they say take up to 24 hours for wood glue to bond, but I just didn't have time for that. So an hour was good enough to me. Did the test, kind of wiggled it around, make sure it wasn't just gonna fall apart, and I was good to go.
Okay, so I applied the Jacobine stain to the wood. And staining, the longer you leave the stain on there, the more rich the color is going to be, the darker the color is going to be. For me, I wanted a really dark color, so I waited several hours. It was at least 4+. And once I was done, I just took a rag and wiped off any excess stain that I had on there. When you're applying the polyurethane to this wood, all you need is a thin coat. Just hit it, all you're trying to do is cover that surface area. You're not trying to make it perfect the first time. Even just do one pass, so you don't have to keep going back over and over. If you do that, sometimes too much polyurethane gets in there and it gets sticky, and that's not what you want. The shelf's done drying. Now it's time to put it on top of our ledges on the wall and make sure it fits and it's level. Okay, so the shelf is now on the ledge. Each side, everything's flush to the wall here. Let's check out the level. Air bubbles right in the middle, that's exactly what we want. And same thing with here, pretty much flush to the wall. Might have a small 1/8 of an inch gap. To me, that's acceptable for a first-time home improvement project. But that's basically the last step in this process. I find this video helpful. If you learn anything new, just do me a favor, subscribe, like, share with your friends. That really helps out the channel. And that's it for me. I'll talk to you guys later.